Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining me. My name is Brandon Kaywell, Principal at Advisor Growth Strategies, and we are really excited. I am very excited to take you through what I'm calling the 20 for 20, which is 20 things AGS has learned or validated throughout the year 2020, which has been a very challenging and unique year, to say the least, but also one that has had a lot of transformation and really reiterated how dynamic the independent investment advisory space has been and is going to be going in the future. So what the thought process is here is take you through 20 things we've learned or validated, everything ranging from operating models to compensation trends to the race for talent, M&A, and all the hot topics that have been going on in our industry throughout the year, even though we've been living through a pandemic and certainly have been forced to adapt. Coming to you here in this episode from my house, and really excited to take you through everything we've learned and or validated in 2020. For good measure, I will have some video props here through my Surface, and what is a consultant without their PowerPoints, if nothing but just a talking head. So the first thing we wanted to look at, and the first thing we talked about as a team at Advisor Growth is, one, the industry has been very dynamic. You look back into the 10 years prior to 2020, you can make an argument that the dynamic nature of the industry might have been correlated or caused by the upward trajectory of the industry, growing assets, strong markets, the bull market, so to speak, as people have talked about it. But one of the things 2020 has really proven to us is that the dynamic nature of the RA industry and the independent wealth space is here to stay, and it's not something that was necessarily due to market gains or due to an upward trajectory, but rather some of the factors that are underlying the growth of the space itself. And we like to look at it in 5 categories. These 5 categories range from growth to technology to human capital to services, and really geographic and demographic expansion. And what that really means for the industry is that 2020, what we've learned and validated is that even in a disruptive market, this industry is very likely to adapt, very likely to move, very likely to change and continue to change very rapidly. The shelf life of change in the RA industry, in the independent wealth space, is accelerating, not decelerating. So when we look at that, what does that mean for us? It means these 5 factors: growth, technology, services, human capital, geographic and demographic expansion, are going to continue to move this industry in different directions. And this was not a flash in the pan event. The second thing that we learned or validated within 2020 is that services are the competitive frontier of the industry now. Going back to these 5 sort of general themes of the dynamic nature of the space, services are right there with it. When we start to look at traditional wealth advisory models or wealth management models, getting away from this for a second from fee-based to hybrid or any of those things, but looking at the core services offered: asset management, portfolio management, financial planning. Now you're starting to see a greater emphasis, even within a disruptive market, on value-added services above and beyond managing the money and or providing financial plans. So we think services, 2020 really showed us that services will continue to be the next competitive frontier, because advisors are consistently looking for ways to add value to their clients. When you look at the industry at large, lots of services related to retirement planning, income planning, things like that. Now we're starting to see an uptick in some of the other things: tax, estate, business planning, trust services, you name it, that will continue to differentiate firms, big and small, in the space, and will continue to push the needle forward. And so a lot of firms that are setting themselves up for 21 need to consider the value that you're adding beyond the traditional advisory model for your clients, even if it's in a very niche way. The last one I want to talk about today, and it's a big one, is consolidation, right? We talk about consolidation. The industry talks about it quite a bit. Is the industry consolidating? Are RIAs consolidating, hybrids, the independent wealth space? Yes and no. The answer is really looking twofold. One, traditional consolidation and shrinking of the number of firms it really has been pretty stable, meaning the number of firms in the space. From all the data we've seen, we don't see mass consolidation events, especially with the low barriers to entry and the low startup capital required to actually have an RIA. Where we do see consolidation, though, is in assets, right? We've been talking about this for quite a long time here at Advisor Growth. I know the industry's been touching on it as well, but the asset consolidation is a real trend that's happening in the space. We are seeing more assets accumulated by structural firms that have a structural advantage, large firms, big platforms, depth of services that are able to grow, that are able to accumulate a greater share of the assets available through the end clients. Those three topics that I just touched on are going to really inform the next everything else I'm going to talk about in these top 20 trends, because they all get to the heart of the issue: people, process, technology, the ability to compete going forward, and the new competitive dynamic that is emerging in the independent space. So I'm really excited to take you through it. I'll be posting these videos throughout the month of December, as I mentioned. Feel free to reach out. Really excited to share more with you as we progress.